Batteries fully charged. Launch ready for AEW Spark in 3, 2, 1. All Elite Wrestling discussion is live. You host Noah Foster.
Let's go ahead and shed some light on Dark, who continues to grow on Elevation. The action and excitement continues to unfold with a wild boom after they lit the fuse on Dynamite. Anarchy and chaos galore continue moving forward on Rampage. Every week, back here once again to send the energy through the circuit and reignite the conversation. It's time for another edition of AEW Spark. For it's Monday night, and you know what that means. Hello once again, everybody. It's been a while, but I have been called upon to bring you forward once again on this company through this edition of AEW Spark. You know what this is. You know who I am, for I am the simple man of a simple man's brand, proud partner in FTW Productions, and my name is Noah Foster. And here I'm going to try and catch you up on what's happened lately in AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Whether or not it becomes a weekly thing all depends on timing, but I'm happy to provide what I can. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
Before we get right into this podcast, I just want to add one last thing before Noah goes and breaks down AEW content as he so magnificently does every time he's on this platform. If you want to see our thoughts on Dynamite and Rampage weekly from week 1 and 2, since there is no AEW Spark covering these weeks, you could check out our watch party and watch along coverage in conjunction with the Jeff Meacham Network and FTW Productions. I made a playlist specifically for that if you want to get our real-time reactions. From here, we are going from week 3 and 4 onwards, where this will become a weekly thing, whether it's myself hosting it, or whether it's Noah hosting it, and maybe it will be a duet with Noah and King, or myself and King. Either way, this will be returning full-time. Yes, I'm coming back to review wrestling, with the exception of the Jeff Meacham stuff. Yes, I am coming back if I am needed. I can't do it every week, but I will do what I can to make it on weeks that I am needed. So this will be an every week thing, along with WWE Aftershock. So with that being said, let go.
We're going to go back for the last 2 weeks and talk about what's ahead this week and what we just saw in the 100th episode of AEW Dark Elevation. We'll start off by discussing what happened 2 weeks ago quickly. As I always like to bring a showcase to AEW Elevation, episode 98, that happened on January 16th, where we continue to see tensions unfold between Nyla Rose and Marina Shafir, who were in trios actually with Femi Sakura, and of course they got the win over Johnny Robbie, Vipress, good to see her, and Zaira. The Jericho Appreciation Society's Daniel Garcia took on Kevin Blackwood one-on-one. Decent little match. Nick Rude and the reality Zach Clayton and Trustbusters Ari Daivari, they took on the Dark Order, where the Dark Order, of course, provided a reality check to the boy from Jersey, in the end. Lost Faction, Nico Benables, Pera Rosa, Preston Vance, and Rouge took on Mysterioso and Diego Valens, adding another match to their collection, picking up the win. Brandon Cutler, the stupid stooge. Matt Hardy and Isaiah Cassidy and Ollie Page, they were in 8-man tag team action as this continued development of a man that's about to be broken, maybe once again, continues to be teased between Matt Hardy and Ollie Page. But they did pick up the win in 8-man action against the Wingmen's Pretty Pure Avalon, Hollywood Hunt Grand Nemeth, and SAP's Lufer and Zapantico of the Spanish Announced Project, as Ethan Page took all the glory himself. And then pretty much as we go from there, Willie Mack took on the Embassy's Machine Brian Cage for Prince Nana. This was the first time Willie Mack showed up on AEW product, and I gotta say, it brought me back to Lucha Underground. This was probably my favorite thing of the whole night. These two, again, super heavyweights that move at cruiserweights, agility galore, power, of course, showcase. Brian Cage to get the window with the drill claw. And the Ring of Honor Women's Champion Athena took on Zeta Singh. Nice to see her back in AEW, as once again, Athena shows how truly strong she is. Once again, defending successfully the Ring of Honor Women's Championship, and then looking to play her face in the middle before Yuka Sakazaki came back and basically finally put the bully in her place as Athena went off scampering for now. And the main event, of course, saw my favorite trio, the Butcher and the Blade, with the bunny, hey Ali, and Penelope Ford and Kip Sabian as well, take on the Ring of Honor champion Claudio Castagnoli and Ring of Honor Pro champion Wheeler Yuta and Top Flight. Basically, it was a triple threat tag team main event. Butcher and Blade, Top Flight, Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta, Blackpool Combat Club. And again, the action was wild, fast, physical, and furious. But what's most surprising is Top Flight got the win in the end, pinning, unfortunately, the Blade that got lost in the shuffle as the bunny was athletic at ringside. The biggest thing to think about here is Willie Mack. He might be a guy that catches AEW's eye. Athena continues to show how dominant she is. It looks like Rey Shafir and Nyla Rose, they finally might go separate ways. And hey, the problem wants to be a problem for AEW on her own. I don't blame her. And Top Flight continues to be the tag team to watch out for so far in AEW's 2023. Not much more to say besides that. But I do hope to honestly see more Butcher and the Blade presented. I really wonder when this storyline will finally unfold and Matt Hardy will be broken. By the way, Mark Juan, get well soon. And the Dark Order continues to try and recruit, but it looks like it's just going to be the Prime Free for the time being. As we move on to AEW Dark from, of course, EU Universal Studios and also arenas, as we've seen lately, AEW Dark took place as well 12 days ago. It was episode number 179 on January 17th. The card went as follows. It was Danica De La Rouge taking on Kiera Hogan, and that's on period, ever since she no longer is a baddie and now fights on her own. Although her and Sky Blue, they seem to have a great tag team chemistry too, especially from their independent days. They haven't tagged yet in AEW, though. We also had the Machine Brian Cage continue to demonstrate his power and his strength, taking on Carl Renders. Brian Cook and Damos took on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia, continuing to see how Sammy can influence Danny and also prepare Danny for what was to come that week's Rampage when Daniel Garcia was supposed to face Action Andretti. Action Andretti, of course, speaking about him, in great tag team, great singles affair. The running shooting star press for the win once again, making Ari Daivari Trust Fund basically go belly up. Lost dividends. Action Andretti got the win. But Powerhouse Hobbs continues to write the narrative known as the Book of Hobbs and also share the wisdom and the brutality from it, breaking another man's spine in half as he broke Jaden in a matter of 4 minutes. Eddie Pearl and Ricky Gibson took on Matt Menard and Andrew Parker, the sports entertainers of the Gerald Beach Society, as they once again try to remind you that every time sports entertainers beat professional wrestlers. And also they could be in the next remake of Miami Vice with that great theme. And in the main event, as we continue to unfold hostilities that really came ahead in that triple threat tag team event for Elevation, it was the Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny taking on Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli, who in the end, the Ring of Honor Pure and the Ring of Honor Champion got the better of the duo, planting the Blade Bunny apoplectic at ringside. But overall, the way I see it is this. We're seeing Kiera Hogan. We're seeing more Brian Cage. Of course, AEW Dark Elevation becoming the Ring of Honor showcase to a degree, as Ring of Honor still is in their soft boot. They were preparing Action Andretti and Daniel Garcia, hyping that up for Friday night's Rampage. Powerhouse Hobbs right now, he's at a bit of, I would say, repackaging in this storytelling. And we'll see how far this Book of Hobbs goes and who is the next supporting role in the latest chapter. And Butcher and the Blade being showcased. Maybe that means the Bunny will finally unleash them, and we'll see if they get a tag team program and big story coming up some point this year in AEW. As, of course, Ring of Honor is pure, through professional wrestling, as Claudio Castagnoli still continue the fray, and Blackpool Combat Club continues to be a mainstay of the entire All Elite Wrestling system. Now, let's go ahead and get into the big stuff with January 18th, AEW Dynamite. Headlined, of course, by the Open Challenge for the TNT Championship, where Darby Allin, who just came back, by the way, from Japan in real time after being part of Great Muto's last match and trios with Sting, he defended the gold against Time Splitter Kushida, as I look at my Fitbit. But before I rush into that, we'll talk about everything else that unfolded before that, as we kick things off with an AEW All Electric Championship match. It was freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy with Danhausen. Very nice. Yes. Taking on Jay Lethal. But there was a caveat here because if Jay Lethal's crew got involved in any way whatsoever after the heinous act to Hauser, and Taker is going to globe on the previous Rampage, Sanjay Dutt would be fired. But somehow, Double J, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh and Sanjay Dutt got tickets for ringside seats beyond the barricade until an usher, Danhausen, a guy with many talents, looked at their ticket, tried to validate it, like, okay, your tickets are valid, but so are these tickets. Come forward. The best friends, Trent Beretta and Chuck Taylor, also with popcorn and beverages. They definitely were prepared. So everybody got to watch from beyond the barricade as Orange Cassidy and Jay Lethal basically tussled in the middle of the ring. Lethal trying to apply the figure four leg multiple times. Orange Cassidy able to escape. Lethal, of course, trying to hit the lethal injection, but Orange Cassidy was able to dodge that. But then finally, we try and get the orange punch, and then the lethal injection come into play. Some good back and forth action, despite the fact there almost was some outside shenanigans. But Sanjay Dutt constantly remind them, you got to get me fired. You got to get me fired if you do absolutely anything. As Jared tried to hand off the guitar, it was Danhausen who intercepted the guitar in the chaos and played a curse. As Cassidy was able to connect with the Orange Punch and pin Jay Lethal, and the Subs continue to be our AEW All-Legend Champion. And as Satnam Singh was about to choke some of the best friends, Sanjay Dutt stopped him because, again, you're going to get me fired if you do anything. So Orange Cassidy took advantage with the most lethal kicks in the game and made Sanjay literally almost pop out of his skin. Again, couldn't do anything. As Sanjay heated, walked off, cooler heads prevailed, Sanjay said his job, and the best friends, of course, got to get the people what they want. So, as Orange Cassidy continues to be the most unorthodox champion in all of wrestling, continues this streak, whether he carries the title in a backpack or not, we wait and see who could maybe defeat Orange Cassidy and claim the AEW Legend Championship. Could it be a Redeemer? Could it be a House? Could it be an outside force? Who else can come about? We're just going to have to wait and see. As we move on from there, is tag team action with a tag team rivalry, I would say, renewed since the very beginning. As one of the only teams in AEW to have a victory over the Young Bucks, fought them again in tag team action. The Young Bucks now are newly crowned AEW World Trios champions. Matt and Nick Jackson taking on Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin. And as you expect, it was an aerial freaking showcase. Fans were popping out of their seats, chanting AEW. There was a hot start with Nick and Dante. They were going back and forth until we got a roundhouse kick. Then Matt tagged in, and then Top Flight basically employed quick tags, isolating the Young Bucks on their side of the ring. Again, with how young this team is, it's incredible how much they show and how much they seem to know, and the cohesion with them, as of course this was a match of two teams of brothers. At one point, though, Matt Jackson was finally able to hit a forearm, and Matt and Nick took over. We got Darius Roth with a super kick. Super kick parts definitely galore. There was double teams by the Bucks, isolating Dante Martin. And at one point, we got a powerbomb, nosedive combination until Nick Jackson came in with the save very quickly at the last possible second. As Nick jumped to the top rope, looking for the destroyer on Darius for a 2 count, still was not enough. And the Bucks continued just trying to smash freaking Darius and Dante Martin. Now, before I continue, I also want to mention this. This Dynamite was on the aftermath of what was learned. For in the last couple of weeks, a great man, a father, a proud, honorable professional wrestler, influenced so many across so many companies in this industry. Pro Wrestling Noah, New Japan, WWE, AEW, and of course, Ring of Honor. Jay Briscoe was lost tragically in a car accident, and his daughters are in critical care. The other driver was also DOA. But since then, there has been an outgoing of love and support to the entire Briscoe family. And it definitely hit the Young Bucks hard here, considering the immortal rivalry they had with them in Ring of Honor Wrestling. As the Young Bucks pulled out the Doomsday Device, kissing the J Hart bands they were wearing. There was a lot of that, by the way. And got the near win, Dante able to break up the pin. As this match continued, there was a springboard of the Bucks counter with stereo super kick party, and then they looked for the BTE trigger, but Darius was able to come in and avoid it. The Bucks collide their own knees, and then there was a pin off that miscommunication. And once again, one of, if not the only teams, now have 2 victories on the Unbox as Top Flight gets the 1, 2, 3. Whoa. As the audience stood in shock, but Taz is saying, don't be shocked, it happened. And truth be told, as I watched AEW since day 0, it has happened, not just for the first time. And of course, now I said it once to say it again. Top Flight puts themselves at the top of the tag team division to watch out for, and maybe with AR Fox, also as a running mate, might just set themselves up for a Trios Championship match. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. As we move on from there, it was time for a little bit of family therapy, or so I thought, because we have, yo, listen, as the Acclaimed were supposed to come out and, of course, share of us their fame, because Wednesday is everyone loves the Acclaim every Wednesday. You know how that goes. Well, the Ass Boys, they got kind of tired of hearing that and dealing with that. So they took the mics themselves and said, I'm sick and tired of all of this. We are the best tag team on the planet, hyping themselves up until the Acclaim finally came out and we were about to get a mic drop, but they were trying to shut them up. And next thing you know, Max is like, shut this ass boy up and let me speak my piece. And as he does, we finally get in the ring with these 4, along with Daddy Ass, who says, no more. We need to sell this. Sick and tired of this. We're going to sit down and figure this all out. If you're not done with that, I got 2 words for you. Family therapy. Daddy Ass with his adopted tag team sons and his original 2 guns in the same room to figure it all out, what can be done. Yeah, I had thoughts about that. Excuse me. But yeah, I was like, did AEW make Dr. Shelby all elite? Am I going to see Dr. Shelby? I hope not. So we wait and see what that meant. As we move on from there, backstage, Renee Paquette's with Heyman and Page. Of course, we continue talking about that crazy win that the Heyman got over John Moxley, where it looked like he might have concussed him to a degree. But Page said, after the first match, John took something from me. And since then, I feel like at least I got my word back. But I also understand the nature of wrestling. Don't we all? It is a full-on contact sport. It is a risk. It is an industry. First match, he put me to sleep. He wanted to make a joke out of it, though. Second match, I knocked him out. But I still have some fences I need to mend. And I don't want to get over specific just yet. If you get the chance, could you tell? Never mind. Considering Heyman's history, fences to mend, what could that possibly mean? Are we just talking about AEW? Are we talking about something else we may not know of? Does he maybe have some remorse for what happened to John Moxley and maybe wants to pass a message through Renee Paquette and tell her they're one-on-one? I guess we're just going to have to wait and see what happens. As we move on from there, it was the Jericho Appreciation Society's Jake Hager with the entire Jericho Appreciation Society around the realm. Jericho, of course, on commentary. Took on Absolute Ricky Starks. By the way, Hager did have his stupid bucket hat. And as he says, I like this hat. I don't. I'm a fedora guy. And also, I guess you could say cowboy hat because I went to Nashville. This match for what was worth, again, Jake Hager with that MMA background that definitely came into play more heavily here. Collegiate All-American athlete. Definitely his power was the difference maker to Ricky Starks' speed. As Starks blasted Hager at one point with a spear and pinned him. And that was it. Not much more to say. Hager tried the Hager bomb. Starks had it scouted. And then Hager got hit with a DDT. And that was a nice near fall. And basically, Jericho was having a commentary. I think he may have, stunned him or dazed him. As everyone was going to go down there and once again make an example out of Ricky Starks when it comes to the Jericho Society. Ricky Starks, great awareness. Got the hell out of Dodge and up the stairs. Overcame and escaped the numbers. Overcame Jake Hager and his stupid bucket hat. As Ricky Starks overcome the 5-on-1 disadvantage and scored the win. So this continued saga of Ricky Starks for Jericho Society and maybe others to follow alongside him continues to unfold. As Jericho tells Tony Schiavone backstage that he and Sammy want a match next week against Starks and Andrade, looking to end this experiment and Oliver Twist once and for all. But Daniel Garcia says he wants to be a part of this too. So Sammy offered him his spot if or when you beat Action Andretti That Friday on Rampage, Daniel Garcia, you will tag alongside Jericho as Jericho tried to come up with a new tag team name. As we move on from there, this was match of the night. As the continued saga, the road to number one contendership for the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson pulling out classic after classic after classic, took on Bandito in what was a lit crowd atmosphere, an insanely impressive back and forth affair. As Bandito got the early going here, but eventually Bryan Danielson looked for the label lock, and Bryan did ask him to tap. He did not. Bandito continued to pivot, dodge, weave, rock Bryan Danielson in every possible way he could indeed. At one point, finally going for the 21 plex. It's like a silly string plex for those that don't know. But Danielson was able to counter it, and then we got a single leg trip as he cradled Bryan Danielson. So many near fall counter for counter moments in this match. Because again, if Bryan Danielson loses, he does not get that 60-man Ironman match for the AEW World Championship at AEW Revolution against Maxwell Jacob Freeman, MJF, who's been handpicking, of course, his opponents. And he has to win all the way through February 8th. And again, folks, remember what the date I just told you this is on. As this continued moving forward, we finally got the 21 plex after Bandito brought Bryan Danielson back into the ring, clobbering him with a jumping knee of his own after Bryan Danielson clobbed him as well. But still not enough. At one point, bringing him in for the freaking ridiculous far away avalanche throw that nearly beat Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Almost beat Bryan Danielson here. But Bandito and Bryan Danielson continued to fight. And then Bandito rocked Bryan with a thrust kick, but then counter into Brainbuster. And then we finally got to the bell up, and Bandito somehow powered out of that. Bryan Danielson once again fired back, though. Finally hit the running knee, the cycle knee, and put down Bandito. Whoa! That wiped me out just watching it. And honestly, if I wanted to give you play-by-play for it, I would in a heartbeat. Incredible match, founded on respect, and thankfully nobody got injured here. And again, first it was Konosuke Takeshita, now it's Bandito, one step closer, as Excalibur said on commentary. And then MJF appeared on the big screen to basically reinforce what Bryan Danielson says, but also remind you who he is. As MJF said, I see everyone saying I'm not worthy of my position here in the company, and I take that very personally. To think all the moments I've given you people. Fickle. Now, is that a little bit of symbolism? Just saying. Bryan, since you and I first crossed paths, you have dealt with mask. But you may not want to deal with the monster behind the mask. Bad things happen to people that mess with MJF. You may think you're a dragon, but a dragon is no match for me. Beware. A subtle warning? Maybe. Meanwhile, we go backstage with Prince Nana of the Embassy with the Machine Brian Cage after an incredible match against Willie Mack early on Elevation as they talked more about that. And of course, them being the sixth-man Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions. MJF approached and made his intentions be known with a padded envelope full of money, giving it off to Prince Nana of the Embassy, as he didn't want Brian Cage next week against Bryan Danielson to necessarily win, but break him, particularly his arm by the end. And he'll be watching next week as he incited the Machine's rage, slapping the man across the face. Tell him to use that anger all against him. Break his arm. Break him. Oof. So again, MJF, getting more darker, it seems, doing anything possible to make sure Bryan Danielson loses a wing. As we move on from there, it's time for women's action as we continue to see what unfolds. As Willow Nightingale took on Toni Storm one-on-one with Saraya in the corner. And this, of course, followed that segment before where you kind of, again, wonder about the subtlety when it comes to Hikaru Shida and what she thinks of all this. As it was literally just Toni Storm with Saraya and Willow Nightingale here, but I still have to figure out Hikaru Shida backstage. Pretty good back and forth match here. Willow again, the unorthodox powerhouse with a smile. She got a nice DDT here for a near fall. Her power came into play. Toni Storm, though, former AEW Women's World Champion. Spike Willow, and then Willow mollywopped her with the pounce. That was the best of a pounce I've ever seen in a women's division in my life. As Willow finally smashed Toni with a running cannonball in the corner, looking to win. But Saraya comes up on the apron. And this was after a subtle back and forth, by the way. And Hikaru Shida did still come down to the ring with her candlestick once again, despite Saraya's high rating. As this match continued, was Saraya with a distraction that allowed for Toni Storm to roll up Willow and have the tights and get the win. Huh. And then we finally see where things stand. As Saraya blindsided Willow with an attack after the match, and Saraya and Toni 2-for-1 on Willow, as Hikashida couldn't believe it, until Ruby Soho came down to even the odds. Battle lines have been drawn between the former WWE superstars and the current AEW originals, or originals that have become as such. Hikaru Shida, not necessarily on either side, just watching on. Ruby Soho, Will Nightingale, mutual respect. Toni Storm, Saraya, believe they're on their own precipice. We'll see how this continues as the AEW Women's Division shows us a divide. And soon enough, I feel will come forward in a very bloody collide. As we move on from there, they do the rundown for Rampage, but of course I'm going to talk about it, so we'll just continue on. As it's time for our main event, the continued saga of Darby Allin and his TNT Championship Open Challenges. Taking on for the first time ever, time splitter, former multiple-time IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kushida. And this was a very, very brutal match. Focal point, of course, being Darby Allin's arm for the Kimura, the hoverboard lock, as Kushida constantly looked to work over that limb, trying to separate from the shoulder. I thought at one point he did. While Darby Allin finally did hit a coffin splash out of the corner and then connected with a code red Yoshitonic for a near fall. As this continued, and Darby Allin, who obviously wasn't coming in here at 100% based on his previous defenses against the likes of freaking Mike Bennett and Juice Robinson. This match continued to unfold as Darby tried to mount a comeback. And with forearms, Kushida's face and the speed, but then Kushida brought Darby with the Pele kick. Then he got a Scorpion Death Drop as Sting, of course, watching on from the corner, the influences of the Icon. And then at one point, we get a diving knee onto Darby's shoulder, but Darby went over the top with the stunner, Kushida right on the apron, as both men have a messy fall to the floor. We're going to record for the last time. As this continued, Darby grabbed a steel chair, but it was more to just give Kushida a seat. As he looked for the coffin drop, but then Darby blasted Kushida with forearms, then jumped off the turnbuckle, but Kushida moved out of the way, which means Darby Allin crashed onto the chair himself, a victim of his own device, and it wasn't even physically used. Ouch. As this continued, Kushida brought Darby back into the ring, grabbing him for the hoverboard lock, and by the way, LA Dojo boys, Kevin Knight and the DKC, I believe, were in Kushida's corner, offering the towel to Sting. You don't want your boy broken. Let Kushida win by forfeiting. But Sting had no intention of doing that as he threw the towel into the crowd. And then Darby somehow blocked Kushida's attempt once again for the hoverboard lock, rolling through the pressure and somehow grabbing him in a pinfall maneuver. Again, submissions exposing your body to the risk of being pinned. Somehow Darby Allin was able to do that because while Kushida worked on the upper body, Darby Allin still had two fully in contact, somehow, lower limbs to trap Kushida for the pin and retain and get the win. And again, very highly technical affair this time from Darby Allin, respectively, against the technician, Kushida. As respect was shown in the end, Darby Allin continues his tremendous run as a two-time TNT champion. Who's next? Wait and see. And that concluded AEW Dynamite for that particular week. So again, women division storylines continue to unfold. Young Bucks might have new challengers for their trios gold, or first challenger, excuse me. Ricky Starks continues to fight against Chicago Priestess Society. Bryan Danielson continues his way to number one contendership. And we will see how Orange Cassidy continues as AEW Atlantic champion. It was a fun episode. I definitely would say, considering what it was following, it wasn't necessarily the strongest of shows, considering we're coming off the Fabulous Forum. But overall, I was extremely engaged and entertained, and it moved some stuff forward. Let's go ahead and move into Rampage for that week now. Of course, this is Rampage from January 20, 2023. And for those of wondering where I get all these notes, YouTube and AEW, AllEliteWrestling.com. Always cite your sources, folks. So, AEW Rampage, of course, came from the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. And we kicked things off with all Eagle Leaf and Page, looking to go one-on-one with Jungle Boy Jack Perry regarding what the firm recently had to deal with against their previous loss against Jungle Hook. And next thing you know, Oliver Page started off hot. Stokely, of course, playing distraction at ringside. Jack Perry, Ethan Page, at one point, they were brawling on the outside of the ring, but Page then brought Perry down with a ridiculous cross-arm iron class. That's basically, folks, when he takes the arm from the man overhead across the ropes, crosses it, and rips him down to the mat. Now you know. As Ethan Page continued to move forward and use the twist of fate, while he allows Matt Hardy to use it too, he also likes to use it himself. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, well, that's a mouthful. He was able to counter it, backing Page to the turnbuckle, but then again, dropping hands, dropping bombs. But there was a distraction by Stokely. He was able to hit Jungle Boy with a twist of fate for a near fall. Again, you're not the original, you're the innovator. As Stokely was tirade Matt Hardy to get in here and help this guy win. Again, he didn't want to get Ethan Page disqualified. Here comes finally the FTW champion, the undefeated, cold hard, handsome devil himself, Hook, who just came onto the ramp, and it was enough for a distraction roll up for Ethan Page to be pinned after Ethan Page tried to literally use Matt Hardy's own hair for leverage. Didn't work. And next thing you know, Jungle Boy got the win and just, went up the ramp, and Hook's like, yeah. As we move on from there, they'll still be halfway blame Matt Hardy for the loss, and Ethan says, can I trust you? Are you my friend? Are you looking out for me? As Ethan Page says, Matt Hardy, okay, you owe me. So next week, we're going to challenge Jungle Hook, you and me. And maybe we'll finally get things right. As we move on from there, it was an interview time with the Mad King and Kingston Ortiz, as basically Ortiz was out there by himself and basically seeking, some real fact, some sympathy. What's going on with you, man? Talking about his Freddie Kingston's completely lost his mind. He's fed into the mind games of the House of Black. And Siobhan, I shouldn't be talking to you. I should be talking to him. Where is he? I want him to come out here directly. Eddie Kingston, come out here, man. Meet me face to face. Let's sell this. Eddie Kingston did that, but he didn't even grab a mic or say a word. He heard Ortiz, heard him out while he had a chair in hand, saying, basically, Ortiz was saying to Kingston, dude, you're going to hit a woman? We don't do that, no matter what. In our world, you don't do that, okay? And that's a fact. That's not how your mother, I was like, Ortiz, you're pushing it, or your father raised you. You're coming out here with a chair. You're going to try and hit me. You know what's bothering me the most? What would our mentor Homicide say? So he tugged the heartstrings of his family, of his other friends, of his mentor, and then he pushed him over the border when he said, you are a coward. You're a fake tough guy. And apparently that was enough to trigger Kingston to not say a word, but hit Ortiz with the steel chair and walk away. So looks like a tag team and a friendship has come to an end. What has Eddie Kingston become? Ortiz, realize what rivalry you're about to begin. I'm sure he does considering their history, but still. Meanwhile, as we move on from there, we once again visit a classic from AEW Dark Elevation that was just as fun here as the Embassies, Machine Brian Cage. A bit of a warm-up. Once again, went one-on-one with Willie Mack, which was anything but a warm-up considering these two history. And literally, Jericho saying Willie Mack's like a video game. Well, based on his agility, he is. Got all the classic spots. Brian Cage was able to sweep Willie Mack's leg out. Cage was able to charge at Willie, kick him in the face. Brian Cage dove Mack's spine into the ring apron, but Willie popped up like a tip on prom nash chair, I would say, and then it hit the sky high for a near fall, but Cage scored massive thrust kick. Again, these two went for kick, move for move, powerbomb for powerbomb, jumping knee strike by the Machine, and then powerbomb on Willie, but then Willie's still able to survive. Then Cage spiked Mack with the drill claw. Finally, in the end, after Willie Mack came this close, this didn't feel like it went as long as the Elevation one. Maybe slightly shorter. Either way, drill claw was able to put down Willie Mack. The Machine prevails. So now he faces Bryan Danielson in the weight that we're about to talk about on that Dynamite. And as MJF Bounty and Danielson's arm, as commentator alluded to. As we move on from there, it was tag team action as the only real legitimate baddie left, Layla Gray, and the TBS champion Jay Cargill took on the duo of the Vanity Twins. It almost like Jay was like, why am I out here? Girl, you could do this yourself. And for the most part, this was kind of a showcase for Layla Gray. She hanged, she isolated, she showed off her baddie side. And basically it was just, some back and forth for Layla Gray between the two Vanity Twins, tagging in Jade, who got a little bit offense in, gave it back to Layla, who continued the onslaught, face buster, looking like she's going for pin, but like, Jade, tag, comes in, gets the win, after one of the Vanity Twins just got shaded. And Jade Cargill moves to 49-0. Not much more to say there, because as we know, Red Velvet, she turned in her resignation. Okay, and then it was main event time. And this was important here, of course. This was Daniel Garcia versus Action Andretti, where they no longer do the whole hype up side by side. Mark Henry just promotes it. And it was time for the main event. Again, back and forth about good stuff here. Sammy Guevara on commentary with Jericho. Action Andretti, Daniel Garcia. Action was able to hit the tornado, spinning a tornado onto Garcia for a near fall. A lot of aerial offense by Action Andretti, who then used a backbreaker, netbreaker combination. Almost a modified variation of the lethal combination. But still not enough to put down Daniel Garcia. Garcia, though, he was able to come back, of course, ground the man, got a pump handle for a nice near fall, sit out, but still not enough to ground Action Andretti. As this continued, he was looking for the Dragon Tamer submission, but Action Andretti was able to cradle him for the near fall. Again, submission, almost getting caught. But then he finally got the tornado off the top rope, then a running shooting star press, the ace in the hole that beat the former Ocho, and once again, Action Andretti got the win over Daniel Garcia. As Sammy says, that's not what we planned. And JR's like, a very tough loss for Jericho Society. And Jericho basically guaranteed that he and Sammy will beat these guys on Dynamite as Rampage goes off the air. So we see the collapse of Eddie Kingston, who says, I'm ready to go home. I get it. You guys got me. As we'll talk about later. Jade Cargill is still the undefeated, only TBS champion. And we're seeing how much Action Andretti and Ricky Starks are becoming focal points developing this year in AEW. As well as they're giving more time for Machine Brian Cage. And I still think, how much longer before Matt Hardy goes broken? I'm just saying. As we move on to last week to bring you up to speed, let's go ahead and talk about AEW Dark Elevation, episode number 99. It was the Trustbusters, Ari Daivari, and the Varsity Athletes, Tony Nese, taking on Big Foz and Jordan Cruz. And of course, Trustbuster, Ari Daivari, Magic Carpet Ride, Tony Nese, the knee strike that got done in the end. Butcher and the Blade with the Bunny, Alley. They got a win back against David McCallion and Richie Blade. Again, violence, full death, debt paid, get your dividends. The Spanish announced products, the Pentacle and the Wingman, Hollywood Hunt, Ryan Nemeth, and Peter Avalon with Luther took on the Dark Order, the classic trio. I'm, of course, talking about Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds. Some good back and forth action here. Some loud coaching by Luther that went nowhere. And the Pendulum Powerbomb allowed for the Dark Order to get the win. Brooke Habit's finally back. Hey, good to finally see her back. Been a while. Straight out, of course, the Nightmare Factory. She took on Emi Sakura, who gave us a little bit of tea time. And Brooke Havoc hung as far as she could, but Emi Sakura dropped her hard with the freaking moonsault out of the corner. Did a variation. Didn't beat her with the vertical drop backbreaker over the knee. As Emi Sakura was able to get the win. Papacito Negro and Papacito Blanco versus La Facción Ingobernables, Rus, Imperial Peligrosa, President Vance with Jose, the assistant. I am not Dasha, so I'm not going to go fully Espanol on you. Not much more to say here, except for the fact that Roosh and Preston continue to gel well as a duo. Preston learning from Roosh as he claimed another prize, seeing this trophy case of tied up mask, disparaging the Lucha Libre tradition. And then Sky Blue took on Sol Dubois, and Sky Blue got the win. A nice singles win for her as Sky Blue continues to show her growth and development in AEW, and definitely has become one of my favorite athletes to watch here. So there wasn't really much to take away from this show at all, honestly. It's a fun little showcase. It's nice to see It was nice to see Brooke Havoc back because, again, I was really sad when she got injured. Sky Blue is definitely an athlete I want to see maybe go after the TBS championship again at some point. And Emi Sakura, she continues to be the underrated but highly accredited Joshi Pro expert that keeps on bringing the action with Mai Saruga, of course, the Killer Queens. And that was AEW Dark Elevation last week on, let me see here, episode 99 on January 23rd. Let's go ahead and move on to Dark last week. That, of course, was January 24th, emanating back from the All Elite Zone, Universal Studios. We had a great opening affair as we had Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, don't forget it, take on the 18-year-old. This is going to be a hidden gem in the industry, in my opinion, folks. Billy Starks. And Billy Starks rocked the doctor hard. She said she was going to drop her on her head. Boy, did she. Took a while, though. An exchange of suplex and forearm shivers, and at one point nearly pinning the doctor with a tombstone pile driver. Billy Starks came in an eyelash of beating her as Rebel, not Reba, was in, of course, Britt Baker's corner. At one point, Billy Starks was able to bring out the Mad Doctor, busting her face, bleeding nose. Oh, boy. And Britt finally was able to not put in the lockjaw, though she went for it early, but caught her with a ridiculous combination of moves that set her up for the curb stomp and allowed the doctor to get the win in the end. Billy Starks is somebody to watch out for in this industry. And apparently has one of the most crazy independent wrestling booking schedules so far in 2023. Mad respect. As we move on from there, we, of course, reflect back on the promo what MJF had with Brian Cage about take the man's arm, claim the bounty. As that. As the Dark Order took on Balian Akimakis Cross and Very Morales, of course, Alex Morales, John Silver, Dynamic Tag Team Synergy, they got the win. Serpentico took on Tony Deppen one-on-one. You heard me right. And Serpentico lost. The hardest working man in AEW Dark history, still yet to get a singles win. Now 101 negative, I think. And it was mostly because you saw Angelico and Lufer get caught by Bryce Rensburg, ejected them. At one point, Serpentico saying, Lufer, you got to go. I don't need this. I can do this. Mad Credit Serpentico, hell of a fighting heart. But Tony Deppen catches him with a roll-up in the end. Tony Deppen gets his first win, kid you not, under AEW through AEW Dark. Damn. As we go back into Orange Cassidy and the Best Friends, they have a solid promo and saying that everything's fine. Cesar Bononi and Matt Sydal finally have one-on-one. Matt Sydal came back to in-ring action, and Matt Sydal was able to get the better of the wingman, but not before getting a beat down before his top-flight compadre, Dante Martin, was able to save him. Brittany J took on debuting Harley Cameron. You all might better know her as the singer behind the Inspiration fame from Impact Wrestling. And Harley Cameron was able to get the win with a little sass and a kiss of death of her own. Not much more to say there, but hey, there's a debut. Claudio Castagnoli basically had a promo there, as we have Claudio Castagnoli and Samoa Joe maybe being teased. The coach of the women's division, Madison Rayne, took on Casey Lennox, was able to beat her with cross reins or raindrop, forget what they call that. Action Andretti had a heck of a hanging with one half of the Iron Savages, Bronson. And it took a lot to finally keep this man down. It was speed versus power. Aerial move to aerial move from 450 to cross bodies, but finally the running shooting star press after 9 minutes of I would say just an endurance. Action Andrea was able to get the win in the end. And in the main event, it was Action Anthony Henry, of the Workhorse Men, taking on Mascara Dorado, the master of the ropes, NJPW Strong represent. And basically, this was a good back and forth. Of course, definitely a clash of styles. Mascara Dorado more of the high flyer, the agility guy, while Anthony Henry's more of a hybrid athlete. Of course, JD Drake was in his corner at one point. JD, he tried to play distraction. Still was not enough as Mascara Dorado was able to master the ropes and get the better of Anthony Henry. Pretty good back and forth bout. What I like about Dark again is it showcases, but it also does tease. Why Dark Elevation is kind of building a story of its own in its own environment and still kind of pushes the narratives a bit of Dynamite. Dark again, it's kind of like that talent factory, all right? You're seeing who takes their skills maybe forward. Serpentico and Madison Rayne guiding as coaches in their own right. If you know, you know. Of course, we have Billy Starks right now. I think is definitely catching the eyes of QT Marshall, Chris Jericho, AEW officials with what she did with Dagbrigger DND. Britt Baker said that there's a lot of people she wants to wrestle. She wants to have fun with on AEW Dark. So this was the first, but she got injured for it. So I don't know if she wants to do it more anytime soon. But again, with how much she's busy in and out of wrestling with her dentistry, mad respect. And again, Mascara Dorado, good win, but the Workhorse Men, nice showcase. And now that Matt Sydal's back, maybe we'll see more of him with the Top Flight. And maybe that'll be another small little program against the Wingmen. Only time will tell. Not much more to say besides that regarding last week's AEW Dark. Now then, let's go ahead and move forward to last week's AEW Dynamite, which definitely had a different vibe, if you will. as it was to celebrate the man, Jay Briscoe. Reach for the sky, boy. If you haven't already, please support the family with your prayers, the daughters, the wife, the entire family. Go check out that shirt. All proceeds go directly to the family as well as some commemorative plaques. I encourage you, people, show kindness. Tomorrow's never guaranteed. Family is forever. Wrestling is forever. Wrestling is family. Let's all keep going together. As the opening tag bout was the Ocho, Chris Jericho, and Sammy Guevara, the Sex Gods, taking on Action Andretti and Absolute Record Stocks. This episode, of course, coming from the Rupp Arena in Lexington, Kentucky, the home of the Kentucky Gentlemen. Andretti and Guevara kick things off here, and again, you can say what you want about Guevara and his brash arrogance backstage of the past. It still does not make him any less of an incredible in-ring agile athlete, and Action Andretti and Sammy Guevara have yet to meet each other one-on-one in the ring. As Action was able to use springboard drop kick, but then Sammy was able to fire back with corkscrew drop kick, and then at one point we got chops to the chest, both men flying over the top rope, twisting and landing. Sammy flies over the top rope with a Hurricane Rana, but Andretti lands on his feet, followed by a Spanish fly for a nice near fall, mocking Sammy at times. As Starks was tagged in, and Starks and Jericho renewed their hostilities from the very first AEW Dynamite this year. They exchanged chops in the center of the ring, and then Starks hit Jericho with a Diggerless lariat, but then countered the Code Breaker into a nice catapult on Jericho. Back and forth action as Sammy came in off the turnbuckle with a cutter and allowed Jericho to cover Starks for a 2 count. As this continued moving forward, it was Sammy jumping off like anything possible. Then Action flew onto Jericho with the tope and served up one to Sammy. 2-for-1 special. Got a backbreaker, netbreaker combination again. Trademark Action Andretti at this point. As the ref was dealing with all this madness, though, Stark was able to drill Sammy with a DDT, and then they collided in the center of the ring, Andretti and Sammy did, with the running cross bodies. Moving on from there, Stark speared Jericho in half, and then Jericho grabbed Stark's trunks, though, for the near fall. Still not enough. And then he finally gets Jericho with a Liger Bomb for another near fall. Again, great exchanges of near falls back and forth in this match. As then Action got his piece of Jericho, kicking him off the second rope, but then Jericho countered split leg moonsault, rising his knees. So Action Andretti just got the wind knocked out of him. Sammy was tapped back in looking for the GTH, but somehow Andretti was able to counter that. Run into the ropes, Jericho, though, was able to peek at Dirty Tactics from the eye, reverse Rana, and then hanging netbreaker. Sammy gets 2 count until Starks finally takes Jericho off the apron, because Starks Jericho were not legal, and Roshan blows him on the floor, but then Daniel Garcia comes into play with Floyd the baseball bat and whacks Action Andretti, allowing the Jericho Appreciation Society to get the win, with Sammy hitting the GTH for added measure. Sammy Guevara gets the win, pinning Action Andretti. The war between the sports entertainers and the professional wrestlers continue in this tag team contest that kind of neutralizes things for now. So here's the way I see it. Sammy Guevara, Action Andretti, maybe that one-on-one's going to happen now. Again, Daniel Garcia being coach or mentor, guided by Sammy. We'll see how far this goes, if there will be fallout. And I don't think Jericho and Ricky Starks are done with each other by a long shot. But this was a fun opening tag team match. Moving on from there, I swear, again, this was a different show, different vibes, folks. A video package was played honoring Jay Briscoe, talking about how he loves this man. He does this for his family and you all. And you all are my family too. As he's away from his actual daughters. At one point, his daughter lady talking about his daddy was on screen. It's like, okay, yeah, that freaking broke me. And basically, it was just, celebrating a man that truly was about the industry, that truly loved tag team wrestling, loved his brother, loved his family, doing all this crazy shit for us. Reach for the sky, boy, indeed. I tell you right now, and I'm just going to light disclaimer. If you all actually do want to get some retrospective on the Ring of Honor tribute show that was finally brought out shortly after this episode of Dynamite, because I guess a change of heart or force of profit will by Tony Khan allowed this to happen. Again, say what you will about politics and corporate BS and nonsense. Tony Khan is a man with a heart and is truly a wrestling fan. I respect that. Please go out of your way to watch the tribute show in full if you can. And if you actually do want to see some review or retrospective on it, please let us know in the comments down below. Anyway, as we get back inside the arena, it was Darby Allin with Sting taking on who he called out that previous Rampage. He beat two thirds of the House of Black, but he needs to know if he can beat all three. That's where you come in, Buddy Matthews. For the second time ever in AEW, Buddy Matthews' second singles match is against Darby Allin for the TNT Championship with Julia Hart in the corner. And Buddy Matthews, psychological warfare, wearing the face paint under a mask that matches Darby Allin opposite of Darby Allin's other side of his face. Really trying to be like, okay, I see you. I see the other side of you. That's where you're weak. I'm going to exploit that. And he did for quite a bit. Fast and furious attack got underway. Darby Allin blocked a kick from Buddy Matthews, who came in like a bat out of hell. As Matthews looked for the running powerbomb, but Darby was able to counter it. And then next thing you know, he was able to exploit the ring skirt, which I thought was unique, and sweep the legs impromptu from Darby Allin. And then drove his knees directly into Darby Allin with the Meteora for the near fall. Still not enough. Meanwhile, Darby was able to go over the top rope with the stunner and then followed up with a coffin drop to Matthews on the floor. As Darby Allin, we know his arm's not 100%, but now it looks like his right leg might have been screwed up. And then it went dark. Like this, sort of. Except pitch black, but I'm not standing up. And the House of Black made their presence be known. I'm, of course, talking about Malachi Black and Brody King. Until Ortiz came in from behind and whacked Malachi with a bat. And then Sting came in and blasted Brody King. And those four men were gone. We're just down to the two in the ring. As Julia Hart also was going backstage with them too, wondering what the hell's going on. As the fans chanted, "This is awesome," which was definitely a constant of the night. Darby Allin hit Buddy with a ridiculous reverse Hurricane Rana and then counter across by, but Buddy was able to roll through and then followed with a crucifix bomb. Don't know how he did it, but he was able to, of course, get him down for a 2 count. As this match continued to unfold, there was combination strikes to the head, the chest, the foot, stomping the phalanges, everything possible, but still not enough as these two went back and forth in furious offensive fashion. But it was able to do Darby Allin's Code Red, countered, and then hit a ridiculous buckle bomb that freaking slingshot the man right back into him for a curb stomp, but still not enough. Again, the relentless nature that Darby Allin says that he has truly is what he has, but even that cannot last forever. Finally, Darby Allin, though, was able to come back with the Code Red for a 2 count and then looking for the coffin drop, but Buddy Matthews was able to counter that, knocking Darby Allin off the turnbuckle, taking out his base. Looking for a superplex of his own to finally win the gold, Darby Allin was able to counter with a Scorpion Death Drop off the top rope and finally suspends Buddy Matthews along the ropes for a coffin drop to a pretty much semi-unconscious man. And somehow Buddy Matthews got pinned. Darby Allin survives, once again, in the end, flat on his back, barely moving. As Tony Schiavone looks for a post-match interview on a barely aware Darby Allin, the king of television comes with a very ominous warning as Samoa Joe is on the screen to say, "I'm coming back to take everything from you. Know that I'm coming back for what's mine, for you stole something from me, and the king will not be usurped by a man like you. You will learn that winning that championship was the biggest mistake of your career." Oh boy. So again, last time Darby Allin had a TNT championship, he only had 9 lives. Can he even surpass 5? Because Samoa Joe is coming to kill him and reclaim what's his. And again, does the house always win? Didn't that night. All right. As we move on from there, it was tag team action with Jungle Hook, Jungle Boy Jack Perry, and Hook, their second ever tag team match together, saying, "Okay, let's do it one more time." Taking on the Firms, Lady Griffith Page and Matt Hardy, with still halfway and Isaiah Cassidy. And most of this match, you guessed it, was Jungle Boy Jack Perry and a reluctant Matt Hardy, but mostly Jungle Boy Jack Perry and Ethan Page continue where they left off. Until Hook finally came into play, and Page, you'd almost been the dumbest thing of your life. Again, T-bone suplex, but Page basically looked for the Eagle's edge on Hook. Hook was able to escape. And then we got a tope. A couple of topes off of some distractions, by the way. Matt Hardy with a blind tag was able to plant Jungle Boy with the side effect, but it still was not enough. As Matt Hardy was looking for the twist of fate, Ethan Page demanded to be tagged in. His Eagle come into play. But Page looked for his own twist of fate. Jungle Boy Jack Perry was able to escape and apply the snare trap, as Hook was able to finally take Matt Hardy off his feet, and Ethan Page was forced to tap out. And I agree with Siobhan. I think Ego's edge, wink, wink, Ethan Page's ego basically cost him here. As, again, Stokely looked furious. Ethan Page looked furious. Matt Hardy's like, I just did what you told me. Again, who's really to blame? It's always so hard to, actually admit when you're wrong. When's he even going to do that? Just saying. When's Stokely's going to do that? As we move on from there, it was a family therapy session with, I didn't know Tiffany Nieves had a degree in family therapy. Good for her. As basically, Daddy has asked his boys, his original boys, the Guns, why they became so entitled. Guns said that came second to the Acclaim. Bowen said the Guns had time to make amends with their father, but they didn't. That's why Billy adopted them. And Daddy has then said, what is it that you want? Seriously, what is it that you two want? Well, Guns made it clear. They want those, the tag team gold. They want the tag team championships. And walked off at one point saying, our failure is only because you failed us as a father. I feel like that probably hit Billy Gunn harder than some people might think. Just saying. Anyway, we'll see if this tag team title match comes to fruition. I don't think they totally qualify for no more contendership, but who knows? Renee Paquette once again backstage with Heyman and Page. Interviewing him again. Page says, I know John and I are one-on-one. What's next for me? It's kind of impossible to know out Jon Moxley next week in Ohio, right here in my home state of Ohio. But then Will Yuta came in and interrupted him and Page and said Moxley accepts, but first Page will have to face Will Yuta this Friday on Rampage. And saying, I have no problem knocking you out before I knock out Jon Moxley again. Oh, the tension. As we move on from there, it was time for the continuation of Bryan Danielson's road to number one contendership as he took on the Machine Brian Cage, who already had an agenda. Break the man's arm. And he did that eventually, it felt like. Danielson was able to trap Cage with a lapel lock in the early going after finally bringing Brian Cage down to the mat. That's pretty hard for a guy that size. But then he was able to finally get to the ropes with his girth. Again, this with your height plays to your advantage. As Danielson looked for the sliding drop kick and then a tope, he jumped up top turnbuckle across body, wiping out Brian Cage on the floor. Again, back in the ring though, Cage sends Danielson soaring with a German suplex. Jeez, oh peace. But then Danielson was put in a bear hug, headbutting his way out. Again, don't fight a headbutt against a goat. As Cage cracked Brian with a running forearm and then looked for the shoulder breaker and got it. Ouch. And this is when things really got bad with the hammerlock shoulder on the freaking apron, finally working on his bounty. And that's taken Bryan Danielson's arm. The Machine was in control. Target identified. As we continue moving forward, Cage then suplexed Danielson into the ring and then followed German suplex for a near fall. Still not enough. Bryan Danielson gets fired up. And then we go for an ankle lock, but then he popped down, blasting with a thrust kick, and continued moving forward. As Bryan Danielson was able to basically at this point fight with one arm as Brian Cage continued the physical onslaught. It was like, okay, I claimed my bounty. Now I'm going to try and break the dragon completely. And I thought that was going to finish him off, set him up for a drill claw. And again, technical savviness from the continued veteran comes into play. Bryan Danielson simply, I would say, survives Brian Cage as he gets him in a roll-up, what some call the most dangerous move in the wrestling industry. Roll-up pin for the win. And then Brian Cage was furious as he went back after his bounty, nailing Bryan Danielson after the match, continued working on the arm as Bryan Danielson was literally grasping his arm. And then MJF came out with a metal chair, took up the scarf, took up the jacket, and basically showed Bryan Danielson subtly who is behind the mask, proverbially speaking. Looking to take Bryan Danielson out, he hammered him with strikes and then had Bryan's wrist put through a steel chair, held Bryan's legs, and literally was about to end him after already pushing the man into the friggin' steel ring post. But thankfully, a man that said he'll be watching because he has tremendous respect for him, Konosuke Takeshita came down and prevented what could have been Bryan Danielson on the injury reserve list. Fending off the Machine Brian Cage for now, courtesy of Prince Nana, saying, okay, we got the money, we got the bounty, we're out of here, as MJF ran like a scolded dog. Go figure. So, the way I see it is this. Bryan Danielson's road number contention just came a whole lot harder, but that will not snuff out the fire that burns inside this man. Konosuke Takeshita still looking for that one big win. Now might have to deal with the Machine, Brian Cage, which we'll talk about here shortly. And MJF, Is he running fearfully? You tell me. Or is this the plan all along? What was originally going to be a triple threat between Threadbreaker, DMD, Tony Storm, and Ruby Soho unfortunately became one-on-one because she was injured, which means we had Tony Storm versus Ruby Soho. And these two are no strangers to each other, of course. You all remember, of course, the finals of the Owen, or party Owen, excuse me. As Ruby and Tony traded forearms at the beginning, and we kind of see now where both these two stand. It was a back and forth affair here. Then Tony rammed Ruby's head into the steel ring post and then whipped Ruby into the barricade, bringing her back into the ring, taking advantage while Tony got planted with a suplex. Both these women are no strangers to suplexing each other. Back heel trip to Tony Storm. Ruby was looking for a destination unknown until Tony grabbed Ruby's tights to try and steal the win. Ridiculous headbutt at one point. Ruby dropped Tony with the knee to the nose, and then the ref brought Ruby away from Tony, but Tony was just playing possum. Rocking Tony with the hip attack for the near fall. But somehow, off that velocity, Ruby Soho was able to kick out. Again, the meanest hip attack in all AEW. Tony Storm, AO, and probably headbutt too. As we continue, and it looked like Tony was going to go for Storm Zero, Dr. Baker, DMD, made her presence be known with her music and her appearance on stage. And that distraction was enough for Ruby to recover and hit Tony with Destination Unknown for the win. Britt Baker, impromptu, helps Ruby Soho get the win. Interesting. All right. And you want to know where this leads to? Wait till I talk about what happened last week on Rampage. Overall, though, Tony Storm, I think she pretty much still hates the Doctor, and now she has even more reason to. No Saraya, by the way, no Kaoshida at all. I can imagine how furious Saraya might be. Anyway, MJF was in a locked room as he addressed Kenosuke Takeshita, told Takeshita to stay out of his business, or else there will be consequences, because bad thing happens to those that mess with MJF. Speaking of, MJF wondered how Bryan's limb is, and says championship is giving him a reason to get out of bed in the morning. This is mine. This proves that I am better than you, that I am a better professional wrestler than you. This belt turned my catchphrase into a fact. I am better than you, and you know it. You want this away from me? Nuh-uh, because bad things happen to those who mess with me, and tonight was just the tip of the iceberg. And then MJF said he made a phone call, and next week, Bryan Danielson, you have this to contend with. I have to get a video package from Pro Wrestling Noah's own Timothy Thatcher. Oh, man. You're talking about joint manipulation and a guy that's willing to rip off a limb? Guy that is catch-style wrestling at heart, rolled in ring comp. Timothy Thatcher from Pro Wrestling Noah is facing the American Giant Bryan Danielson this week on AEW Dynamite from my home turf of Dayton, Ohio, as I'm from Toledo. Damn it, we'll be able to go live, but that's okay. So I'm looking very forward to this, but also for those that don't know, Timothy Thatcher, he is a guy that literally has lost teeth in matches and smiles. This is going to be very physical and violent, to say the least. But Bryan Danielson says, you're not going to stop me from wrestling. No one's going to stop me from wrestling, and exposing you for the fraud, for the coward you are, and proving why there should be a true AEW champion, and that is me, Bryan Danielson. I want to wrestle 60 minutes with a dislocated limb. You think this is going to stop me? It's not. So we'll see what happens next week. As it was time for the main event on what was Jay Briscoe's 39th birthday last week, Wednesday. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champion holding both belts, taking on per request of both individuals. Jay Lethal, who tears in his eyes. Jay wristband. By the way, the wristbands were a constant thing throughout the night, by the way, in honoring of Jay Briscoe. And we had Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman join Excalibur on commentary for this match. And this was just pure energy, respect, honor. This was not a memorial. This was a celebration. This is professional wrestling. Mark was able to buy Slam Jay Lee from there to go, but Jay was quick to get back up his feet, holding back the tears all that he could. We even had the traditional Jay Lethal neckbreaker, the rat-a-tat-tat neckbreaker, as it's called, of course. And then Mark was able to deliver some kung fu, because again, crazy redneck karate man, off the top rope, splashed Jay Lethal in the corner, landed the uppercut, and then the iconoclasm on Lethal for a near fall, not enough. Then he butterflied the arms for the Jay Driller, but Lethal was able to fight out. Lethal continued with a lethal combination for a 2 count. Wasn't enough as Jay Lethal looked to hoist up Mark and drop him down, but then Lethal followed up with a lethal injection, but Mark Briscoe was able to roll out of the ring, create some distance. The match continued. Excuse me. As Jay put Mark on the timekeeper's table looking for the Macho Man Randy Savage elbow drop, Mark was able to escape, and then Lethal with a drop kick through the ropes, plus he came on the table, and again, all the stories and funs that Eric Bonnie and Caprice Coleman talked about. They know how much the Briscoes love to thrive in a world of violence and broken wood. As Mark Briscoe came off the top rope with a little bit of a froggy bow and finally put Jay Lethal through the table. And that was after ridiculous running bloppers on the apron previously, too. As the fans chant, "This is awesome," Mark once again looked for the Jay Driller, but Lethal escaped. Then Lethal looked for Lethal Injection again, but Mark countered that with not one, but two layers that turned the man inside out, dropping the franchise and finally saying vulnerable enough to hit, or should I say spike, Jay Lethal with the Jay Driller. And ladies and gentlemen, Mark Briscoe, in honor of his brother, Jay Briscoe, got the win in the main event of AEW Dynamite last week, Wednesday, with tears in his eye. As the two embraced each other afterwards and went up ringside, the locker room, Tony Khan, and everybody who was influenced by that man, Jay Briscoe, were up there on that entranceway ramp. As the picture loomed above, and we just hear the theme playing, as Mark Briscoe holds up both towels with one last little message, "I'll see you soon, boy," down the road, and talking about Jay Briscoe's daughters. Stay strong. We love you all. Ashley, you're going to be fine. Of course, talking about Jay Briscoe's wife. And the whole family will continue strong and on through the name Briscoe. Mark is willing to carry that because the Briscoes are Ring of Honor Tag Team Wrestling. They are professional wrestling, and wrestling is family. As we go off the air with the hug and embrace among the entire crew, simply saying, "We love you, Jay Briscoe." Man. And that was the end of the show. And again, if you have a chance, please go check out the tribute show that was, of course, provided to us now on YouTube, on Ring of Honor's YouTube channel. And like I said, folks, tomorrow's never guaranteed. So treat every day as it truly is worthwhile. For seeing it is a blessing. Living it is just reality. As we move on from there, last week Wednesday's Rampage, January 27th, again for the Rupp Arena. Hangman Page took on Wheeler Yuta, and it was a violent, hot start. Of course, Wheeler Yuta showing his tenacious side, looking to send a message to Hangman Page on behalf of Jon Moxley, but also he's trying to send a message to Jon Moxley, Hangman Page's himself. He dropped down with a forearm from the top rope. Yuta set out with the Bulldog headlock on Page for a 2 count, still not enough. Ring of Honor Pro Champion continuing to just batter away at Hangman Page. By that wide-eye, far-staring off Cowboy, continue fighting back himself. Machine gun headbutts, then Page whopped Yuta in the next week with an avalanche Death Valley driver for a near fall. Still not enough. As Page followed up Wheeler Yuta like an accordion with German suplexes, Wheeler Yuta continued, again, the next straight of him, freaking second German suplexes of his own on Page, and then Yuta trapped Page's legs in the ropes, pummeled him with elbows. Again, forcing combat, thriving violence. As we continue moving forward, Yuta set Page crashing to the floor, overhead suplex, and then Yuta went up the top rope, diamond crossbody on the Page to the outside, went for it one more time, but Page raised his knees up to counter. Then Page fired back with, again, his trademark, a massive lariat. And then Yuta countered the buckshot lariat with his own top rope splash for a 2 count. And again, that close. Tremendous showcase match here by freaking Wheeler Yuta. And again, I'm not going to say anything else about Dynamite in case I didn't give you much more of a summary. As this continued moving forward, Heyman cracked Yuta with the rolling elbow, and then Yuta bit Page's forehead. Again, violence. But Page had enough and smashed him with a buckshot lariat, but did not go for the pin. He said he wanted to send a message to Moxley. So he did. Freaking double hook, double underhook, DDT. The paradigm shift on Wheeler Yuta, pinning him with the Death Rider for 1, 2, 3. Message sent. Jon Moxley awaits this week. This was a good fun opener. Again, physical clash. Again, Heyman Page. He always has been one of those athletes that I feel you don't fully understand, but you can appreciate for his heart. And Wheeler Yuta, we've seen how far he's come into his own. As I did bring some self-foreshadowing alluded to the previous Rampage. This Rampage, Eddie Kingston was almost like, confess, I know what I am. I accept that. House of Black, you're right. The reality Kings has come out now. And Ortiz, you had to be the first shot. I feel you. I accept you. I'm ready to go home. Home? Wait, the current house? A new house? The House of Black just get a new member? Is this just foreshadowing? Is Eddie Kingston just, manipulating them here? Who's really in control? Because Eddie Kingston in control. Can you do that in the same sense? I don't know. All right. As we move on from there, wondering what's next for the House of Black and Eddie Kingston. It was trios action as Danhausen, very nice, very evil, with Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta and a ukulele with Orange Cassidy in the corner. Took on Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett, and Satnam Singh with Sanjay Dutt. And basically, I guess Satnam Singh does not like ukuleles as he pretty much destroyed it. And again, this was pretty much a, welcome home Chuck Taylor trios match. Not really much to say about this. Some back and forth action here. Lethal tagged in Satnam. Satnam did a big man spot, but mostly it was just about Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal and the Golden Globe. As Chuck Taylor was able to grab Lethal with a submission, but Jarrett intervened. Then Chuck Taylor got a lariat and then sent Lethal to the floor. And then we had a figure for a leg lock. Of course, Jay Lethal special. But this time, it was applied by Chuck Taylor to Jeff Jarrett, as Satnam was not going to have that. And he basically threw him into Danhausen. And then Danhausen, well, you can call it what you want. I call him brave. He challenged the Giant. Didn't work. Got ragdolled by Satnam Singh. It was like David vs. Goliath. Then the best friends got involved and finally got better with Satnam on 3-on-1 until Jeff Jarrett cracked Danhausen over the head with the stolen Golden Globe Award while the ref was distracted. Why Satnam just literally stood on top of Danhausen to grab the pin. That's it. Not much to say. That's it. I don't know if Jeff Jarrett's trying to do the Owen Hart thing with this trophy. I don't know how much longer they're going to still be in possession of this stolen Golden Globe, but we already saw. Let's see. Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett already had a chance to tag titles, lost. And we also saw Jay Lethal had a chance at the AEW Championship, lost. So, was anything really built here? Or was this just filler? Or we just still wonder the best friends are fine as well, considering we did see Trent 1-on-1 against Orange and lost, but Trent still has possibility to probably be a great single star. And I still think before AEW, I wondered the best friends were going to implode. Excuse me. I don't know. This was weird to me. It was like meh. It was the go home for Chuck Taylor, even though the best friends didn't give the people what they want, which was a victory. Damn it. Anyway, as we go backstage, footage was shown. Well, technically not backstage. It was a recap of footage shown after AEW Dynamite with Renee Paquette trying to interview Ruby Soho regarding that win, but then Underbreaker DMD intervened, and Soho should have known. I should have known your first ass couldn't avoid the spotlight. I never wanted or needed your help. But then Baker didn't kind of make it about herself here. She suddenly made it more about them, and particularly the AEW Women's Division. She said, look, Ruby, I don't like you either, but maybe it's time I finally admit you have some importance to this women's division. Why don't you grow a backbone and pick a side? And if you're smart, you'll know which side to pick. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. Ruby Soho, do you roll with the company you are currently with or who you used to be with? Superstar? AEW talent? Which side are you leaning on? Decisions. We'll see what happens maybe this week. I'm loving this, though, because if this sets up a blood and guts for the women, that's going to be special. Because Will Nagar already told Renee Paquette on the sessions, women can bleed like men, too, if not more. I think that street fight proved it. And honestly, we haven't seen Ty Miller on a J since. Just saying. As we move on from there, Powerhouse. Powerhouse Hobbs clobbered a guy named Tony Mudd, and this guy was not part of the fan puddle of mud, so he was not made famous, but basically he was stomped into his own puddle. As Hobbs hoisted him up into the torture rack and slammed him hard into the mat. Good night. That's all there is to it. There's not much more to say. The Book of Hobbs continues to be written with broken bodies and casualties. Who's next? As we move on from there, backstage segment with Top Flight continuing to talk about their momentum. They got the better of the Young Bucks who have some gold, and now maybe they're looking for some gold of their own. And they have a buddy that could challenge them for those titles, particularly in AR Fox. After all, they are three kings that won $300,000. They are three men that could challenge these three men, and I believe the Young Bucks and Top Flight would now be clashing for the third time. So why not? How about we have a Trios Championship match? Okay, I'm not going to get the damn Visa thing figured out. That's just bullcrap, in my opinion. I'm game for this. I don't know about you. So we'll see when this is made official. As we go from there, the natural Dustin Rhodes, who already claimed that this will be his final year. God bless this man. 30 years in the industry. If y'all can see my picture there, I met the man live, one of my all-time favorites. He basically was being interviewed by Renee Paquette regarding, everything he's done, what he's given to the industry, how he's so proud of everyone here at AEW. And then Swerve and Mogul Affiliates came out and says, you're coming in here trying to make it all about you. Man, I'm going to have to take out another old man like I almost did with Billy Gunn and add you, the natural, to that list too. Do not underestimate the heart, the passion of Dustin Rhodes, who told him you need to step back. And Trish says, the nerve of you Rhodes family guys. Your brother ain't, let's not talk about your dad. And then he tried to really push the natural. As Rhodes says, keep my dad's name out of your mouth. I thought we were going to come to this. It almost felt like we were going to. So it looks like we're going to get Swerve versus Dustin Rhodes maybe at some point. Okay. All I'm going to say is this. Respect the Rhodes name. That's it. As we move on from there, it was another backstage segment as Lexi Nair interviewed the TBS champion Jade Cargill, who immediately got interrupted by Red Velvet and said that I'm going to be the one next week that's going to be your 49-1. Jade's like, you want it? You want this ass beating? Bring it, bitch. TBS championship match made official. As it was time for our main event that was hyped up on AEW Dynamite for showing, where at the end of the day, Hater's going to show that Hater hits hard, if not harder, taking on one of the all-time greats as iron sharpens iron. She continues to test herself and show her merit as AEW Women's World Champion. It was an AEW Women's World Championship eliminator match as our current AEW Women's World Champion, Jamie Hayter, and yes, folks, I'm a hater for life. Met the woman live. With Underbreaker DMD and Rebel in her corner, took on Emi Sakura with Mai Saruga. Emi Sakura, highly underrated in my opinion, deserves more TV time. Seriously. As Emi and Hater, again, this was stiff, straight up, Japanese strong style at its finest. Physical blows and chest red that Brian Danson would be proud of on both. Back and forth exchange. Outside the ring, Emi sent Hater straight into the barricade and then back into the ring. And these two were just wailing in on each other until both finally were down the mat for a moment. As Emi Sakura whipped Hater by her hair in the ring, and then Emi Sakura dropped an elbow drop on the champion. And of course, Emi Sakura won. She would have had a chance to go out to challenge for the title, of course. Sakura was able to stretch Hater, though, with this surfboard, the Romero special, for those that know it. But then Hater, of course, showing off her strong fighting spirit, blasted her with heavy-handed chops that made blood vessels pop up on Emi Sakura's chest. Re-effing-spect. And then 3 ridiculous exploders to Emi Sakura, taking her pretty much around the world. As Hater ran to Sakura with a back elbow strike in the turnbuckle, but then cracked her with the hate breaker for a 2 count. Of course, the backbreaker over the knee. Hater's going to hate. I'm always going to appreciate. Jamie Hater then goes to Sakura with the sliding lariat, Tomohiji-esque, for a nice near fall. And then goes for a moonsault, but Emi Sakura rolled out of the way. And then was able to hit a Tiger Driver on Jamie Hater for a nice near fall. Sakura in control as she hit her Moonstar Press right on target, but Hater somehow manages to kick out the fighting spirit of the champion as the two continue to waylay one another for the better part of what felt like a 15-minute clash. Once again, Sakura smacked Hater in the face, and it was a firefight as these two went into another gear. Left and rights, left and rights, left and rights. Hater reared back, though, and landed the lariato. And then finally, no, wait, she somehow freaking got up again. But then finally hit the one that I was waiting for, the ripcord, Rainmaker, rain hater. So whatever the hell Excalibur calls it. I don't know if she calls it that or Excalibur calls it that. I'm just going to call it a Rainmaker because that's what it was. Hater hits hardest in the end and pins Emi Sakura, hitting the Haterade. Oh, that's right, because the sign. Seriously, AEW endorsed that. I will buy that immediately. The haterade in an absolute classic once again in what is really becoming a greatly developing AEW Women's Division led by a hell of a prominent champion as Jamie Hayter physically bludgeoned got the win over Emi Sakura. Woo! I loved this. This is my favorite women's match that last week. So the way I see it is this. Jamie Hayter continues to roll on as the strongest force in the AEW Women's Division as the AEW Women's World Champion. Why Britt Baker did go in to check on her friend, but also, again, seized the prize. Hayter says she'll be all right with it. Britt Baker, maybe she'll go after it. Something's going to give eventually between the Pillar and the Killer, where one day we're finally going to see Jamie Hayter take the head off Dr. Britt Baker. But for now, I'm okay with what they're doing. As Hayter with another physical classic, has become my favorite AEW Women's World Champion to date. There, I said it. So happy to see how she's being showcased. I hope to see more of it on the mainstay of Dynamite. Who's willing to step up or come over? Forbidden Door, maybe? Just give me more of these matches, and that's how you prove to me how strong the AEW Women's Division is. And respect to Emi Sakura. If you all didn't see the post-match picture either. Damn. Another classic battle in the Women's Division of AEW. I agree, Excalibur, as I look at this quote. All right. And that pretty much catches you up on everything except for, of course, what we saw tonight with AEW Dark Elevation's 100th episode. Another fun hour of pro wrestling here as we had Red Velvet and Billy Starks have a great opening clash where in the end, Red Velvet was able to set her up with the spinning roundhouse kick of a poison rod to get the win. And then Athena founded Diamante as a tag team partner. They took on Sky Blue and Yuka Sagasaki in a fun little tag where Athena, I guess, got hurt slightly. And Yuka Sagasaki was able to get the win in the end, pinning Diamante. We also had Tony Nari Davari taking on Top Flight, where unfortunately they got degraded from first class, and Top Flight got the win with the nosedive. And of course, we also saw Brian Pillman Jr. Flying Pillman got grounded by Roosh with the bull's horns. Got a little bit of the workhorse man once again in action here. Tag team synergy among both, but that finishing combination of moves, Alex Reyes and John Silver got it done in the end. The Kings of the Back Throne gave us violence and took two boys back to Miami Vice. Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum didn't stand a damn chance. Apparently, Yuka Sakasaki, the Kwai now, the Dark Order, I'm calling it. That was so cute. I guess she joined the Dark Order. That was pretty fun, not gonna lie. That was fun. That was cute. And last but not least, Claudio Castagnoli defended the Ring of Honor World Championship against Blake Christian, All Heart Blake Christian. Incredible intestinal fortitude and showing until his heart stopped via a giant swing over 20 plus rotations that went into a higher velocity towards the end after already being freaking dead lift, straight jacket, released, powerbomb thrown. Damn, you pissed off Claudio. But hell, you brought the fight. Claudio wanted that. Claudio continues to be a predominant, incredibly fighting honorable Ring of Honor World Champion, taking down all comers. Happy 100th, by the way, to AEW Dark Elevation. My Monday Night Delight. Can't wait to see what's next. All right. And folks, that catches you all up on AEW. And of course, this week we have AEW Dynamite, a effing stacked show this week right here where we go all elite in Ohio. It's always something special. We, of course, will have the continuation of the Road to the Market Championship as Brian Danielson, with one arm broken probably, takes on Timothy Thatcher. Konosuke Takeshita will take on the Machine, Brian Cage. There will be a TBS Championship match as Jay Cargill defends against Red Velvet. We'll see if it's 49-1 or 50-0. We also will see Darby Allin as main official. He will defend the TNT Championship in a no-holds-barred match against Samoa Joe. Lord help him. And I believe that catches up on everything, unless I'm forgetting something here. But I will say this. Definitely things to watch out for. Konosuke Takeshita has been scouted by Don Callis. You know the man has a plan. He also has his own agenda, but he's also known for a reason as the Invisible Hand. So we'll see if there's some foreshadowing this Wednesday based on how he hangs with the Machine, Brian Cage. I gotta wonder if Ruby Soho is going to have any answer based on what, based on what Breaker DMD basically kind of, told her to think about. Some critical thinking indeed. And yes, also, of course, we have John Moss for him on page 3 with their one-on-one. And the Acclaim are in tag team action. So much more sure to come to on this upcoming 2 hours this Wednesday night on Dynamite on AEW on TBS. And what is Eddie Kingston going home to? The house or his house? Whose house? And will we get Swerve vs. Dustin this week? And who will Hater hit hard next? I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But that's all I got for y'all for now on this revamped, reignited edition of AEW Spark. Catch you all up with the last 2 weeks in under 90 minutes. That's a new record for me. I am not Excalibur, but know this. I am just a simple man and a lifelong fan of professional wrestling. Damn it. So find me on Twitter and on YouTube at nfoster1916 for all things wrestling. It's as simple as that. Shout out, of course, to the entire ATW family on the Twitter, ATW for life. So find my simple YouTube channel where I constantly have prediction leagues, simple predicting videos, and so much more content. Find me on Cassidy 18 Studios, the Championship Nerd Multiverse of Mia. Me and JJ will be, how about this? Rebooting something in a way. Maybe some point this week. Stay tuned for a Cindy predicting panel and coverage, of course, on NXT Vengeance Day as the month of February wrestling goes underway. There may be an AEW Spark continuation on a weekly basis. We'll have to see how this continues to unfold. More content to come regarding NJPW, more predictions, and so much more too. So stay tuned. But as always, I conclude, there are no winners, no losers, no betters. Just fans with opinions, with this passion we all share. So at the end of the day, folks, support one another, respect each other, protect your mentality too, treasure your families, and just enjoy life and enjoy professional wrestling. It's as simple as that. With that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, comment, and tell a friend. Hit the bell. Those videos goes live on demand on this channel at FTW Productions, at my simple YouTube channel, anywhere you want to just see discussion, positive content, and reviews on all things wrestling. So stay tuned for more on that. And also, let's see here, before I forget anything, stay tuned for FTW Productions, more retro reviews, more games, more Weymouth used wrestling, and also, most recently, if you haven't already, check out the FTW Watch Party and Championship Network Watch Along coverages for week 1s and week 2 of AEW. I think I'll leave you all with that for now. So I think now I'll finally say adieu. So until next time, whether here or somewhere else, in and out of YouTube, make a positive impact in life and have a good night. For we are AEW.
Podcast has concluded. Be sure to check out more group discussion as far as AEW content is concerned, and check out more content from For the Win Productions.